This is Ellen Hales and I'm here with Flame Radio and I've got Sister Therese Mills sitting with me today. Hey Sister T, how are you?
Good, Ellen, how are you?
Good, we just did a talk on leadership. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the leadership role that you have, Sister T?
Yeah, so I am in the Missionaries of God's Love Sisters and I'm the vocations director for the sisters. I guess that's a bit of a leadership role, isn't it?
Okay, hang on. You said two really big things that people don't know about. What is an MGL and what is vocation?
An MGL is a mighty good looker.
Hang on, what else could you do?
Mighty good looking.
Mighty, goggly...
Lunatic? No, it's Missionaries of God's Love.
Yeah, cool.
So I'm a missionary of God's Love sister.
Yep.
And we have priests, brothers and sisters. And yeah, I live in Canberra.
Canberra.
Yeah.
Cool. Is that where everyone lives?
Yeah, the whole lot. Everyone.
Everyone.
All the politicians, everyone.
So where we are here in Sydney, no one lives here, but everyone
lives
in Canberra. What I meant to say, every missionary of God's love, do they live in Canberra?
Everyone. No, so we have the priests and brothers in Canberra, and we also have sisters in Sydney, and we've also got priests and brothers in Sydney as well, and also Darwin and overseas.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
And so being a sister, I remember when I was in year 12 and someone told me that nuns are still a thing. That surprised me. I wasn't really used to that. But then when I came more into my faith, I started realising that people actually do that thing. They join the religious life, they become priests, and they're still young people today joining vocations to the priesthood and religious life. Is that a new thing? Is it fading out? What would you say to a young person who doesn't know that nuns exist?
Oh, look, to be honest, I think it used to be a thing, but I reckon these days now it's becoming a thing it's happening more and more. So I reckon there's more young people who are interested in becoming, say, a priest, a brother or a sister. And I reckon it's something to do with, it's different, it's radical, it's kind of like a different way of life. Yeah, back in the day, I think it wasn't a thing. These days, I think it is a thing. And had you have asked me, if I was at school, hey, Therese, are you going to go off and become a nun? You're going to go off and do consecrated life or be a sister? I would have, laughed in your face or, totally thought, no way in the world would I do something like that.
Yeah, so what is it that drew you to the religious life? Was it the MGLs themselves, or were you drawn to the religious life before you were joined to the MGLs?
No, I wasn't drawn to religious life at all. In fact, I grew up thinking I'd either be a nurse or be a cop.
Then I can see you as a cop.
Would I make a good cop?
Yeah, arresting people.
Yeah.
And...
Stick 'em up!
I mean, not that that's all the cops do.
No, but it sounds good. It's just be great to do that. Anyway, so I was going to be a cop or a nurse, and I ended up doing childcare as a career. I also did, I don't know if you know this about me, Ellen, but I did, B2? Yeah, you know this. Hey, bananas in pajamas.
Hang on, are we going to find out?
You are going to find out that I used to be B2.
No way!
True story.
That is the best fact. You know when you do random facts and you introduce yourself? That is the best random fact in the world.
I actually was B2.
B2?
Yeah.
So was the head thing heavy?
No, it's not too bad.
What's it made out of? Cardboard, foam?
Cardboard and foam. Cardboard and foam. You've done this before, haven't you? It is cardboard and foam. Heads. And you look out at the mouth. Anyway, I did that.
I figured that as a kid. I'm like, they've definitely got eyes somewhere.
Yeah, that way up here.
So B2?
Yeah, B2 for children's parties. And I got paid for it. It was other than being a sister, the best job. Other than being a sister.
Was it all scripted? I mean, do B2 and B1 talk? Or they just kind of go, wait, what is their line? Their catchphrase? It's are you thinking I'm doing it?
You could do it. You could be B1 and I could be B2.
Alright.
So no.
Okay, religious life. Tell us about it.
Oh yeah, so anyway. I went to a camp when I was older, so I pretty much deepened in my relationship with Jesus first, then religious life happened after that.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't know Jesus, you just jumped into religious life, I'd ask some questions.
Yeah, that would be a bit dodgy. So I deepened in my relationship with Jesus in a major way over a number of years. And then I met the MGLs, and I can remember thinking, that's what I want to do with my life. After I'd, deepened in my relationship with the
So
Lord.
it just seemed obvious? Wow. And from like vocation stories that you've heard from the other sisters, is that a thing that happens? Is it usually quite obvious?
Yeah, I think it's like something sits right. I was telling a couple of young ladies last night, I was saying, just say if you're interested in a fella and you're looking at a fella and you think, oh wow, I think I like him, or he's looking at you and going, oh, I think I like her. I kind of felt like that with Jesus, where I thought, oh, I think I like him. I want to get to know him more. I feel like I'm discovering his love, and I feel like he's loving me back. And it was kind of like a relationship of that, of, two people, me and Jesus, getting to know each other more and more, and in a way where over time I fell in love with him. And obviously he's always been in love with me, but I discovered his love in a mighty way, in a way that I thought, I think I just want to live fully for him and with him, in a way of being a sister.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fully and for him.
Yeah.
So if you had any advice for other young girls, like maybe they don't necessarily feel called to religious life, but can they still be fully in love with Jesus?
Oh, totes. You could be fully in love with Jesus and be a young single, or fully in love with Jesus and be married, a married man or a married woman, or a young single man or a young single woman. But I guess what I experienced was I wanted to give up my whole life in giving, not that that's like a holier life, but I wanted to give up my whole life going, okay, because of the love I've received from him, I want to give back to him everything, who I am. And maybe that's, the concept of, I desire to be a mother. And back in the day, I was like, I can't wait to have kids.
And that's why you became B2?
No. And remember thinking, when I get older, I'm just going to have kids and get married. And I had my life sorted out, but God just changed that plan dramatically in a way that, through falling in love with him, I was like, wow, this is the life that I'm meant to live. This is where I'm going to be the best person who I can be in this state of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's the goal, isn't it? To be the best person that you can be.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So what does your best person you can be, what does your daily routine look like, and how do you try and work on that? Like, what do you do in your day-to-day?
Yeah, so we begin our day at 6 or 6:30 in the morning with prayer. I know. Sometimes it's a killer. We begin at 6 or 6:30 in the morning with prayer, and we do what's called the Divine Office, where we chant the prayer of the church together, the Divine Office. And then we have 1 hour of silent prayer each morning, where we're just spending that time with Jesus. So spending that time with him in silent adoration, so before Jesus in the Eucharist. And then we have brekkie together. Then we go off to Mass together first. Then we come back and have brekkie together. And then we go off and do our day. So it depends what stage of life you're in the MGLs. So if you're beginning, on a Monday we spend the day together, where we go off and do bushwalking or picnic or barbecue or
down the beach,
go to the river. We went canoeing last week, and it was traumatic because we had a canoe trip that was supposed to be 3.5 hours. It turned into 7.5.
Did you get lost?
It went bad. It was like whitewater rafting. But anyway, that's another story.
Just imagining you all going down these rapids. And
that's right. Imagine that.
Boats.
Yeah, imagine that. That's what it was like.
7 hours.
7.5.
How are your muscles?
I was dying the next day.
You're all like,
I felt like I'd been hit by a
Tuesday
truck.
routine. Monday routine has ruined us.
Exactly.
Okay, so Monday's like Sisterhood Day. Yep.
Yeah, so Tuesday and Wednesday is a study day. So on a Tuesday and Wednesday we have classes and have classes about the way of life or about catechism and spirituality and scripture. And then Thursday is a ministry day, a mission day.
So in schools, or do you work mainly in parishes?
In Canberra, so I live in the house where new sisters come. That's the formation house. So in Canberra, each week we go into an all-girls high school and we run like a voluntary youth group at lunchtime. And each week we also go into a big block of government housing and run like a drop-in centre. So we put on the Arvo tea and we have the residents come down and come down for afternoon tea. They might come down for a chat or some of them come down for prayer if they're having a hard time. They know that we're sisters and they really respect that. And they're just themselves, and so we just offer a safe environment for the people, because there's a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol, a lot of, you name it, it's there.
Yeah.
So we just like a safe place pretty much. So we do that every Thursday as well.
Yeah, wow.
And we also go visiting the poor, the lonely, the sick, the marginalised, the housebound, the elderly, anyone and everyone who...
You would have met a lot of people. And
I've
have
met some amazing people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've met some amazing people and some, also some very sad stories of some, the stories of people, the suffering and the pain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, it's a privilege, it's an honour.
Yeah. So something that I've experienced doing youth ministry is that a lot of young people are drawn to service and justice, and they want to be a part of it. It's like they're young and all they can see is the future and they just want to make it better. How can a young person who, under 18, how can they just get started? How can they go and do service and things like you're doing, and conversations with homeless or marginalised? How do they spot them? Where are they?
Good question. I think the most important thing is to link in with other agencies or organisations. For example, link in with Young Vinnies, or link in with whoever's in your parish or in your church or in your diocese, in your area. Opportunities of ways where you can do that. I was talking to a friend last night who does, it's in your area, the street retreat.
Yeah.
Is that in Lismore?
Brisbane. Yeah, that's a Lismore diocese event.
That's happening. That is so cool.
So you met someone who went to street retreat?
Yeah, I met someone who went to that, and they just had a ball, and for them, and they were sharing with me how they had a friend and it totally impacted their whole life.
Right.
In a way that now that's the area of work that they want to get into. So, I think just having opportunities, and for young people getting out there and doing that kind of stuff, getting into it. This young person was saying last night that they often hear about, say, I'd like to go and serve the poor, or I'd like to do this, but actually doing it was something, like getting out there, getting dirty and doing it was something that they experienced and was life-changing for them. Yeah, but how do we do that?
Where do you spot them? Where are they? What do you do?
I think if you ask around, as in where are the organisations?
Probably, both where are the organisations, and what about just day to day? Like, how do you serve the poor, the marginalised in a day to day kind of?
As a young person,
yeah.
Look, I think there are ways we can do it without, say, going to organisations. I think going to an organisation can be really cool. But there are ways like, stopping and talking to people in the street, giving a smile, seeing someone in need and attending to that, kind of getting out of our own comfort zone and going over and, helping an old lady walk up the stairs that can't carry her shopping, or helping a homeless person on the street who, I don't know, might need a burger or something like that, making that kind of difference. And I think just being a witness, I think, is, huge in sharing God's love. And I think the other thing too is finding out what agencies or organisations there are that they can be part of to go out and do these things.
Yeah, I think that's something that I really love about the Catholic Church is there's something
It's-
out there for everyone, and you can find these organisations, these like people who are doing amazing things in every area of the Catholic Church, and you just have to kind of tell your parish priest, hey, I want to do this, and they might be able to find a hookup or network with you. And
that's right. Or, you know, jumping on the net and going, you know, what are the Catholic services in my diocese?
Yeah.
Or asking your YMO, or asking your, you know, your teacher, your head of evangelisation, or what do they call them in the schools these days?
Leader of evangelisation.
Leader of evangelisation. Asking them. So it's that kind of thing, you know, just finding out how they can do it.
Yeah, I think that's something I really loved about travelling to India. So Sister Therese and I travelled to India October, 2015?
Yeah, it was.
Together. That was a fun mission trip. We had never been to India before, either of us, and the food was delicious, wasn't it?
Yes.
We stayed at a few families' houses, and those mothers, my goodness, they know how to cook good curry.
They could
for
cook.
breakfast, lunch and dinner.
We even rode an elephant, remember that?
What a day. Some great photos, that's for sure. And I loved that, going over to India and you see the church over there and you just, there's so many organisations, so many orders, so many religious people just doing work for the poor and marginalised. And do you remember that orphanage we went to, and that sister came out and she's like, what does she say? I have the honour of kneeling beside the bed of Jesus every single day.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Like,
Yeah.
What other mission trips have you done? Well, what mission trips have you done this year? I know one of them, but anyway.
Yeah, went to Papua New Guinea.
That was fun.
And we went to Bali, Indonesia, Bali and Malmere, and also Far North Queensland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I see you went up to Far North Queensland. What areas? Like Tiwi
Up in
Islands?
Townsville.
Oh, at Townsville.
Yeah,
Right.
That's Northern Territory.
Yeah, totally. I
You
knew
knew
that.
that, didn't
Whatever.
you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
geography is ace.
Not your thing.
We went to Papua New Guinea. That was fun.
We did.
Yeah, we should talk about that.
Yeah, Papua New Guinea.
We went with a team of, how many of us were there? 6?
6 or 7.
How many times have you been to Papua New Guinea?
Oh look, I don't know, a lot.
Oh wait, yeah, you grew up there, didn't you?
Oh, when I was a little kid, I grew up there, but as an adult, I've probably been back for every year for the last maybe 7 years. Yeah.
And what do you find is the difference between an overseas mission and the stuff that you're doing every Thursday with the sisters?
I don't find much of a difference in the sense of, you know, the people living the same kind of life. There's people in need, there's people who are suffering, there's people who are joyful as well. I guess what I do find, the big difference that I find is, I find the people overseas rely on God more, in a sense of, I don't think they have the material possessions and the kind of materialistic stuff and the instant gratification stuff that we get in Australia, whereas overseas they don't have all that because of the poverty. So I think they rely on God more in a sense of that. I find that a big difference. Did you find that?
Yeah, I think especially we went to Mount Hagen and for the first week, and although it was like the end of the road kind of community, they hadn't really had any kind of outside guests, I guess. The one thing that they all had in common was their faith.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And even though life was hard, or maybe they're not making the best decisions every day, neither are we, but they had God to come back to, and they knew that was a necessity.
Yeah, and just, you know, just the whole thing of people who are suffering, clinging onto their faith, clinging onto God, knowing that they don't have anything else to cling on to get them through. And I find that in Australia too. There are some people, you know, I was talking to a lady just not long ago who is suffering majorly in her family and with her children and with drugs and alcohol, and you know, she's trying to cling on to God as well. She's trying to cling on to her faith and knowing that can keep the thing that's going to keep her going. The drugs, isn't going to keep her going, but she knows she's struggling. She's trying to cling to God.
We're here at ACYF, and I think that's a big thing that a lot of the young people here are trying to do, like the clinging to God. And like, I guess they might not be in as extreme circumstances as this woman, but in their everyday, they're struggling to cling to God. They don't even know what it's like to cling to God. Like, if he's not real, he's not tangible, how am I supposed to like touch him? Or when I say real, I mean like physical. What would you say to a young person who's trying to cling to God? What are they clinging to?
I think, I once heard that the biggest journey in life is from the head to the heart. And I reckon that's so true, because we can hear this stuff about God's love, and we can hear this clinging to God and that kind of thing. And we can know it in our head, but we've got to know it in our heart. And I think for us, what we can do is we can make the choice. Like, we can make the choice to believe. We can make the choice to believe that God is with me. And we can ask him, we can call out to him. We can, as we would a friend, if I'm, in a bad place, I can say to you, hey Ellen, I need a hand. And I know that you're going to help. Same with God. Like, we can say, God, I really need your help. Jesus, I really need you to be with me in this. And call out to him and cry out to him. And, let him be with us. Yeah. But choose to make that decision. I think that's the biggest thing. Often, and I know I did this in my own life, like I kind of had struggles of faith and struggles of, oh God, where are you? Like, even time here I am being a missionary of God's love sister. And there are times where I think, where are you, God? Are you even real? Are you even out there? But I've got to choose to believe. I've got to choose to go, yeah, you are with me. You are with me in this hard time. You're with me in the good times. And you're just with me, kind of thing.
Yeah. I think I've had the same thing. Like, you're kind of pleading with God. All right, then show yourself. Like, I just need a glimpse. Like, I'm doing all this. I just need to know you're real. I often think that if God is there, and I 100% believe he is, then he's as close to us than the air on our skin. And sometimes it's just a matter of like recognizing, oh yeah, I've got air on my skin, I know God. Or, I know that sounds like very simple, but something that's really helped me.
Yeah, I think it's also looking out about how God is also, we can be going, God, where are you? Where are you? Why aren't you here with me? Or how come you're not helping me? It's kind of, well, how is he doing that? Is he sending other people, or is he providing other ways, like rather than directly getting a megaphone, right in front of you?
Sister Therese, God! No, that's true. I think there's some stage in our childhood we're kind of given this image that God's this like man that sits up in the clouds with a big white beard and has this deep tone in his voice, and when you don't hear that, you're like, oh, maybe I don't hear God. Maybe this isn't God. And then there must be a stage where we stop that affiliation and make a choice and ask some questions, like, who really is God? Yeah,
ask some questions, and also kind of go, well, how is he speaking to me? Have you heard that story about...
Here we go, Sister Tina's story.
Another story. No, about the guy who's stuck in a flood, and he's on the roof.
Stuck in a flood?
Yeah, so he's stuck in a flood. The whole area's flooding. I've got to remember the end of it, but anyway, he's stuck in a flood, and he ends up being on top of the roof, on the outside, on top of the roof, and this guy in a dinghy. Have you heard this story?
Yeah, keep going.
This guy in a dinghy comes along and goes, hey mate, do you need a hand? I'm probably changing it, but anyway. He goes, hey mate, do you need a hand? And he's like, no, I'm all right. And he's crying out to God, help me get out of this. And the dinghy guy, the fella in the dinghy's like, here, jump in. And he's like, no. So the guy goes off. And then another one comes in a high-powered speedboat. I don't think that's a true story, but anyway. High-powered speedboat. And he goes, oi, buddy, do you need a hand? And the guy on top of the roof is going, no, it's all right. And then a helicopter comes. And he's like, oi, mate, do you need a hand? And and he yells out and he waves up and he looks up and he goes, no, 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 no. And he's there crying out to God, and God turns around and goes, mate, I sent you a dinghy, I sent you a high-powered water boat, and I sent you a helicopter. You know, like, what more do you want? So it's that kind of looking for ways, or discovering, how does God talk to me? How does God reveal his love to me?
Yeah, and if God's creation is all around us and it's his, he's going to use it. He's going to use the natural sciences. He's going to use the people who love him and who listen to him to lead you closer to him and to help you and to save you.
Yeah.
That's very good advice, I think.
Yeah.
You are a sister of stories. It's like one of my favourite stories.
Oh, Lord.
Can you please tell us the story of when you were in Papua New Guinea and you were freaking out? Is it Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, when you were there for a bishop's welcoming or something in this community? Please, it's my favourite. It's my favourite.
It's not that interesting.
It's just funny the way that you freak out a little bit.
Okay, freak out. I had every reason to freak out. Anyway, so so the team were at this bishop's opening, and
so which country were you in again?
Where was I? Was it Fiji?
Kava? Did you have Kava that night?
Fiji, yeah.
Yeah, Fiji.
It was Fiji, and we're at this bishop's. He was opening this church, and all the team got split up, and they got taken to their place for like a cup of tea or selling refreshments. And so I went off with a lady, and I ended up just in this, I figured out it was a childcare centre or some preschool room. It was very dark, and there was one candle in the middle of the room, and she sat me down, and I had my cup of tea and a dry biscuit in front of the candle, and I looked around thinking, where am I? And I looked around and I discovered I was in a preschool, but it was just me and the candle sitting in the middle of the preschool having a cup of tea. Anyway, this lady came and got me in the end and said, Sister, we got to go now. We got to go over to the bishop. The bishop's here. And so I was like, okay, I better go. Anyway, so we started walking over, and it was pitch black, right? Pitch black. And when there's an opening of a church in a place like Fiji, it's massive. The locals all get dressed up as warriors, and it's all very serious, and no one can move, and they protect the place, and they surround the place with
no one
warriors.
can move?
Yeah, no one.
So
you go to this ceremony and you sit there and you cannot move.
Wow.
Legit, you just need to sit still. Anyway, so she goes, okay, sister, we got to go. I'm like, okay. So I started following her. She's carrying this big pot of food in a saucepan. And so I'm following her behind this big pot of food, and we're walking across, and she went, wait, sister, wait. And I went, what? And she goes, warrior men. I was like, no. She goes, we must go back, quick, run. And so then we started running back to the house. Then we got back to the house, and then she's going, okay, sister, it's safe now. We must go. I'm like, okay. So then we start off, we're running across a field, and she goes, sister, run! Warrior men, warrior men. So we're just running and running and running. And I share this story. I could almost feel the spear in my back. Because I had big spears, and I was thinking, no. Anyway.
And you kind of like that feeling when you your mum tells you to take the rubbish out, and you're like afraid that someone's going to pop out of the dark, and you're like quickly walking as if like someone's pushing you.
Exactly, yeah, it was like that. Anyway, we got there, and I was 10 minutes late, and everyone else had started this important ceremony, and I walked in late and sweaty and had warrior men chasing me.
Man, you must have seen some things in the travels that you've done.
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing.
Do you have any like highlight moments or favourite times? I mean, that's kind of a long-winded question. Is there a time that really changed you or stands out for you?
There's a time I often think about a young man in Darwin, actually. I was doing some ministry in the prison up there, it's a prison for under 18, a youth prison. And we'd been going in every week and visiting the inmates there, the young people in the prison, and I'd kind of sparked up a good friendship with this young fella I think he was really big into wrestling. So he's this big beefy guy, and sparked up a friendship with him and got to know him quite well. And it was the last day that we were coming in, saying goodbye because our time was finishing up. So I'm talking to this young fella, let's call him Ben, and I said, Ben, it's our last day today. We're leaving today, so I just want to say, just to let you know, I'm going to be praying for you, mate. And he put his head down. I'm thinking, whoa, this is awkward. And I said, oh, Ben, just to let you know, I'll be praying for you. And I saw his head, like he just nodded with his head down. I said, are you all right? And he just looked up at me, and he had tears streaming down his face. I can still see his beautiful face. Like, tears were just streaming down his face. Like, dude, are you okay? And he looked up at me and he said, I've never had anyone say that to me before. I've never had anyone say that I will pray for you. And, just that simple gesture of, hey, just to let you know, I'll pray for you, was just, it just really blew my mind of he's never had anyone in his life to pray for him, and I think in a way to care for him or love him. So that was one experience I had. Did
you ever get to stay in contact with him or anything?
No, I didn't. No.
But you'll be
I often think about him, and I always pray for him.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing the impact that you can have on just a small gesture, like saying that you'll pray for them. I remember in year 12, and my friends are kind of getting used to the idea of they've got a Catholic friend who goes to church and goes to youth group, and they never really brought up the topic. It was just kind of, Ellen on a Wednesday at lunchtime is going to go to this lunchtime youth group and have a chat about God, or Ellen's not going to come to the party on Friday night because she's at youth group, and Sunday night, she's got this coffee club thing and she's going to go to mass, and they were just kind of getting used to the idea. But I remember a really tough time my friend was going through, and just a simple text, hey Elle, can you pray for my grandma?
Yeah, that's it.
Just like she knew that was something that I could contribute to her situation of prayer. Just a small gesture of
It
prayer.
is, isn't it? Just that tiny thing of I'll pray for you, or just that simple gesture of let's pray, this reminded me of this story. Another story.
No, I love it. I love the stories.
Reminds me of the block of government housing that we go into each week. Our Archbishop comes in at the end of the year each year for a Christmas party, and so I took him around last year to go and meet the residents, and I said, Archbishop's here, he's going to say a little prayer with you. And so some of the residents would be very open to it and go, okay, I'll do that. And then they'd get a blessing from the Archbishop. And one lady received prayer from the Archbishop, and you see something on her face, like her face just totally changed. She went from, this lady suffers from depression, anxiety, schizophrenia. She never leaves her house, ever. She will not go to the shops. She never leaves her house. And I took the Archbishop up and we prayed with her, and she said a prayer with her. And then on Christmas Day, I thought, I'll go and see if anyone wants to come over for lunch. And so I went up to her and I said, hey, let's call her Susie. Susie, do you want to come over? We've got Christmas lunch on. Do you want to come over for Christmas lunch? And she looked at me and she said, I've already had my Christmas. I said, oh, what do you mean? It's Christmas Day. And she goes, I've had my Christmas. I've had my presents. I've had my gift. I went, okay. I'm thinking, she's been to a party or something. And she said to me, when that priest, the Archbishop, she said, when that priest prayed with me the other day, that was my Christmas. Yeah, she said, that was my gift. that's the best Christmas gift I could ever receive. And I just remember thinking, oh, that's amazing. You know, like just that simple gesture of saying, hey, can I pray with you? But do you want a prayer? Do you want a blessing? Yeah.
Is there, like, how do you pray? Like, what is, in your just really intimate conversations with God, is there a trick? Like, what do you...
You know what my prayer is? You know, Saint Therese often talks about this. She used to talk about her and Jesus asleep in the boat. Did you know that?
That's why your kayaking trip took 7
Exactly.
hours. Oh.
No, but my prayer is the yes prayer, where you go like this, yes, Lord, and you fall asleep, not off, yes, Lord. No, how do I pray? I try and be creative in my prayer.
Sister Therese doesn't talk about falling asleep in a boat?
Yeah, no, she does.
Okay.
And she talks about nodding off.
Oh, like she herself would fall asleep in prayer.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. It's normal. Even the
yeah,
saints are doing
I know.
it.
That's what I love. I love it that. She talks about how Jesus was also asleep in the boat. So basically, she used to talk about her prayer life being very dry. It was almost like Jesus, you know, he was asleep. So sometimes I feel like that too. Like, yeah, I'm here. God, I'm here. Hello, kind of thing. But I like to get creative in my prayer. I like to use art. So I do a lot of drawing and a lot of painting. And music's another good one. I'm not a muso, but I like to listen to music. So I think, yeah.
Yeah, and there's some really good, like, creative ways that young people can pray as well.
Yeah.
That's good.
Using music's cool. But using art, like just getting out your pencils and paints and just going, okay.
So what's the difference between just painting and prayer?
I think, well, what I do is I might say read a scripture passage in the Bible. Say you're reading a story about Jesus and you read it a few times, you read it over and over again. You really jump into the passage, like you imagine that you're there, or you imagine that you're with Jesus, or you imagine, say for example,
Jesus sleeping in a boat.
Jesus, yeah, that story about they're all on the boat and Jesus is asleep and someone runs over to him and says, Jesus, wake up, there's this scary storm happening. What are you doing? You know, you're asleep. And he says, get up. No, he didn't say, they say get up. And Jesus says, have faith. You know, like, have faith. And then he calmed the storm. That's a perfect one for like jumping into, you know, imagine that you're in the boat. Imagine that you might be the one that goes over to Jesus and wakes him up. You might be asleep as well, or you might be
really scared and flustered.
Yeah, freaked out by the storm. And so imagining yourself as part of the scene or the image or the story, the narrative, and, you know, getting right into it. And then maybe then after that you might draw that. And I cannot draw to save myself.
I'd love to see some of these when you're a saint and like they're published
Yeah, right.
as like big works of the work of Saint Therese.
No way. They're like grade 3 style.
It's alright.
Yeah, but I think just finding ways to help you pray, finding ways to deepen in your relationship with God, whether that's reading scripture, whether it's drawing, painting, going on the beach, going for a walk, sitting in
Mother
nature.
Teresa, she says, pray as you are.
Yeah.
So it's not like try and be someone you're not and go and pray somewhere else, but as you are, the person you are. Like if you are an artist or you just like visualizing things, then pray as that person. Or if you're an athlete or you like walking, then do a pilgrimage or connect your body and soul and run and think about God at the same time.
Yeah.
All those different things. Or if you are more like a contemplative person, you like thinking, you like sitting by yourself, then like go and find
Pray
this like
there.
peaceful place and pray and set up your little prayer spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, pray as you are. That's good.
I just finished my 8-day silent retreat. And
Whoa, 8 days.
8 days.
No talking at all.
No talking, silence
Wow.
for the whole time. And I went fishing about 4 times, and that was my prayer. Like, I loved it. I was just fishing. Mind you, I didn't catch anything. Obviously, I wasn't praying hard enough. But yeah, for me, that, you know, just out at the water, going fishing, praying. Yeah, it was awesome.
I know a lot of young people find that God in nature.
Yeah.
That's like a really easy way of being like, oh, I understand that God is massive because, well, creation is massive. Do you have any tools or strategies of finding God in nature, or how to explore that more? How to not just sit on the beach and look out on the ocean and think, wow, God is massive, but how to engage in that, in God's creation?
I don't know. I think just get amongst it. Like, to do what you just said, like what works for you. You know, like if you're a surfer, get out there and be on the waves and talk to Jesus, you know. Like if you're a someone who loves bushwalking, like go bushwalking and use that as your prayer, like talking to Jesus as you walk through the bush. Yeah, just that kind of thing. I think doing what works for you.
Yeah. Nice.
You got any advice?
I was just thinking about, what do I do? I remember one time it was called the best lookout ever. I know it's a bit of like an exaggeration. I was like, well, I want to see if they're actually telling the truth. Like with a title like that, it must be good. And I remember walking the whole time thinking, I'm going to get let down. For sure, I'm going to get let down. And I remember my prayer was, God, make me thankful for what I'm about to see. Like I want to feel like this explosion inside of me of like awe of creation. So I was walking and I found myself like gazing at the trees in a new way. And when I got to the lookout, it was just, I guess for me it was the best lookout I've ever seen because of that thankfulness and gratitude that I had. It might not be the most miraculous and stunning place on earth, like Grand Canyon or anything like that, but it was, I was ever thankful for that time.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the prayer that I pray when I'm in nature, is make me thankful for what I'm seeing and the people that I'm with.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm not thankful enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. And I'm getting into this whole gratefulness, thankfulness thing.
Oh yeah? On the way, the trend of gratefulness?
I'm writing
grateful.
it. I'm writing it.
Yeah, cool.
No, I like it because it's, okay, getting it to the end of my day going, what am I thankful for today? You know, and thanking God for the blessings that you've received during the day. Okay, you know, just that simple gesture that someone did for me, or I'm thankful for, I don't know.
Judy washed the dishes and you didn't
have
it.
Exactly. Just looking at the end of the day going, okay, what am I grateful for? What am I thankful for? Acknowledging the blessings in the day. That's prayer.
Acknowledging the blessings.
Yeah.
That's like a real simple one, I guess. If you're a first-time prayer goer, I think highlight a few moments in your day. Was it St. Ignatius who did examine?
Yeah, St. Ignatius of Loyola.
I think we do a lot of that in our diocese, actually. We use a lot of Ignatius.
You guys do everything in your diocese. You're like the rocking diocese ever.
That's good. You've heard it here first. Sister Therese Mills.
You guys are.
Diocese is rocking.
It's like the epitome of the bomb.com up there at Lismore.
That's what my grandma says. Bomb.com.
Sorry,
I didn't mean to say that.
Did you hear that? She said I'm like a grandma. That's okay? Right. Yep.
But yeah, we do a lot of amazing things in the Lismore Diocese.
Oh, you do?
Thank you.
It's happening.
We do a lot of Ignatius spirituality, and the examine is one of them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like that whole thankfulness and thinking about your day.
And going back, okay, what can I learn about today to take into tomorrow?
Yeah. Man, we've highlighted a lot of prayer strategies. We expect you all to be praying next week.
Oh, yeah.
Listening this podcast.
You gotta pray just to make it today.
Are you going to finish that right?
No.
I think we're getting a bit loopy now. Well, thank you so much, Sister Therese.
Thank you.
I love all your stories.
I love you.
Thank you.
No worries.
I love you too. That's a bit of a cute moment.
I know. We just had a moment.
We can find out more about MGLs, can't we?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. So if you look up on the website, Missionaries of God's Love, you guys are on Facebook.
Yeah, we're on Facebook,
Sisters.
so you can go to www.mglsisters.org.
Stop it. Wow. Or you can just Google Missionaries of God's Love.
Just Google it.
Yep. That'd be awesome. If you want to find out more about religious life, what it entails, if you're a young person who's questioning if that's a call that they have in their life, it's awesome to ask those questions and find some people who know more about it.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks so much for the chat.
Thank you.